Hi, everybody. Rich Gibbons with Speak Inc. And today we are here with Olympic skating phenom Apolo Ohno. Apolo, good to see
Rich,
you.
yeah, good to see you.
Apolo just dazzled, I don't know how many people are in the audience, but financial services customer. And I was thinking, I was in the back of the room listening. Apolo was phenomenal. And I was thinking of a longtime friend who said, of people that are truly gifted on the platform, they have the speaking gene. And I think that's down in your genetic code. You look so comfortable and natural.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Has
Has it always been like that?
It was not always like that.
Yeah.
I've watched interviews from myself when I was very young.
Yeah.
I took some formal training back when I was sponsored by Nike. We did media training. But what I found that I fell in love with was people who presented. So presidents, comedians, people who gave front of house type presentations, great executives who are amazing leaders, and really just people who gravitate and who are great storytellers.
Yeah.
So I can't be like someone else. The only thing that I can do is just be myself.
Right.
And the thing that I've been lucky enough and blessed enough is I'm passionate about what I do. I feel like I've identified purpose and I have alignment with helping others also become reminded of their own inner power.
Yeah. Yep.
And I storytell because that's where I derive my own kind of fun and happiness from.
Right.
So I love to teach.
You are clearly having fun, and it stands to reason that Apolo talks a lot about the process. That if you're focused on the process and doing the things that move you in the right direction, so it stands to reason that a guy who's sort of very immersed in that philosophy and mindset would also have a methodology for improving speaking. Right?
Improving speaking, I think that like motivation and drive and will and the burning desire is very powerful.
Yeah.
But as with all things, life happens and you get fatigued, you get tired. And so while you can understand what the result is, which is a critical piece of staying focused on the end goal, the process is how you maintain the consistency of progress towards that goal. So setting in step, the mechanical steps and processes to actually improve, whether that is the pure repetition of stepping on stage, of being in front of large groups and audiences, of understanding who these people are, what the thematics are of the event, what these organizations and teams and executives and individuals are all trying to do professionally. And of course, I love the personal side because I just believe that the stronger you are in your personal life, the more effective you can become in your professional life. You think better, you're in a better mood, you're willing to take on bigger and more audacious challenges, and you care more about the person-to-person interaction. So all these things are integral.
So there's so much to love about sort of Apolo's preparation. We were the times that I've seen you, cybersecurity customer, financial services, you can really tell when someone is able to. They're a quick study of the industry backdrop, sort of market challenges. You're very good at understanding that. And then the thing that I found, because you do have some. You do have some name recognition, celebrity cachet, and most this phenotype, most of them phone it in, and there were dozens of little ways the industry terminology, like, hey, you're dealing with the changes around this regulation, and I think you used a few of their acronyms. You baked in at the end. I know that there was the end plate concluded with their theme, and those. You may take it for granted, but those are things that the customer really values.
That's good. I mean, that makes me happy. My entire, when we set an intention for how we want to engage with a client, with an organization, the first and foremost thing is, if I was in the audience, what do I want to get out of this event? Number one. Number two, how do I leave some sort of lasting value add? Because people will get excited and motivated and they'll say something that's funny. But as life hits them in the face again after they leave, within 1 week, they're getting and settling back into the world of normalcy.
It's the January 14th gym thing that you said. It's like you can't, January 3rd, there's hardly a machine available, and then it's all cleared out by the end of January. Right.
So I just think that we care, number one.
It's evident. It's evident.
And the goal is to get people to enact real behavior change so that they can live just a more maximal life. And if we can do that on a fractional increment amount on every company that I speak with every single person, that's how you make world-changing differences. And that's the ultimate goal, right?
I have about an hour's worth of questions in here, but we don't have time for that because we got to get Apollo onto the next thing. But I have two things.
Yeah.
One relating to your dad, and then one relating to the team dynamic in 2002. So one of the really humanizing, sort of endearing elements of Apollo's backstory and pedigree is his relationship with his father, and you tell your life story in a very self-deprecating, very human way. It instantly makes you human. It humanizes your sort of, hey, yeah, he's the most decorated Winter Olympian in American history. But when you describe your upbringing and the impact your father's, him being your dad, the impact he had on you.
Look, not only did my father had an impact, he has an impact continuously. So I've been lucky enough and very grateful. I have and had a great dad. He's still here.
Yeah.
He's always taught me in decades. So each decade of my life, or each 5 years or so, he's teaching me in a certain specific way. And everything that my father has effectively taught me has come true in some capacity.
Yeah.
So he just proves through repetition.
He is Mr. Miyagi.
He is.
He's
He's like a fortune teller. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Right.
So my dad is like very resilient in his ability to drown out the noise of the world expectation and bring it back to center of the real basic, what he considers to be like foundational principles for living a great life.
Yeah.
Adhering to your truth, maintaining your true north. He calls it your own personal spiritual transparency. So what that means is really, am I doing something in alignment with what I believe I should be doing?
Yeah.
And on the long-term horizon, can I maintain that? So my dad he doesn't waver like many people. He doesn't get distracted. He stays in alignment. And I think to me, he's a living proof of what that is.
Yeah.
So, hopefully one day when I do have kids, I can be a fraction of what my dad was to me, to my kids. And that'll be
good for you. I mean, that's it's wonderful to be able to have an appreciation for one's parent. And when you hear Apollo's backstory, and you're very self-effacing and self-deprecating, and you describe yourself as this rebellious 15-year-old who his dad drops him off at the airport, and he like waits for his dad to drive off, and then he goes and spends 9 days with his buddy. So you clearly were. There was probably a lot of force of personality there that needed to be channeled, but. As an audience member in the back of the room, you kind of look at it was like, man, Apollo wouldn't have been Apollo had it not been for your father.
Absolutely.
Like,
or all of those mistakes.
Right. Yeah.
And missteps.
Right.
All of those,
yeah.
We'll call it, micro traumas, call it instances, circumstances, all these things compounded over time to create real outsized responses to the life that I was living.
Yep.
And I think this happens with all people that do something extraordinary, we would consider to be extraordinary. Yeah. There's moments in time that we could actually snapshot and say, this is where, this person actually was starting to cultivate a new type of psychology.
Yep.
Maybe new dendrites were forming in the brain. Maybe new cellular systems were being reconfigured. Who knows what is actually happening in the complexity. But my father is hands down still like my best friend, my teacher, my mentor. And dad, and it's been awesome. Sometimes when I speak, my dad actually comes, and I love to bring him on stage, and because he tells some stories, or he actually is able to share, in his very thick Japanese accent, he shares.
Apollo does an impression of his father, impersonation of his father.
Which is gonna kill me.
Funny,
but my dad cuts through the noise, goes right to the heart, and just breaks it down. In a really simple way.
Right.
And he just says it, like he'll say something that he believes in and doesn't care anything else. And I think that radical authenticity is very endearing.
Yeah. So there's one other question that I want to ask you, but just sort of interstitially here, I think one of the reasons why Apollo got a standing O, well-deserved, from a very sophisticated, hardworking audience. And I think one of the reasons why they so appreciated your content was like, you're very entertaining, you're very authentic, you're very spontaneous, and funny. So it's easy to listen to.
You say I'm funny looking? Is that what? You're much shorter in person, Apollo. I had no idea. Thank you. I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Just very, very engaging and entertaining to listen to. But
thank you.
The content is so. We won't break it down here, but the 4 pillars are. I mean, if you have 2 neurons connecting, I get it. I understand what Apollo's talking about, and they are really inarguable. I love the 4 pillars, and Apollo does this thing with the table. If you've got one of the 4 that's a little, a little too short, the table's kind of wobbling, but you start to lose 2 or 3 of these things, show's over, right?
You go down.
So that kind of content is so instantly applicable, and I think people in the audience are saying, I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, the goal is, here's what I've realized is we live in a complete information overload.
Yep.
And some of us love the long textbooks and details. Most of us think we want that, but we need to adhere to something that's simple.
Right.
And so 3-step, process, something very simple that we can remember and we can adhere to, and then we can make change when I leave today.
Right.
That's going to be the biggest impact. So don't aim to be 100%, aim for the bulk 80%.
Right.
That will give you the most
Pareto's law.
Exactly.
Right.
80-20. Yeah.
Right. So the other thing I want to ask you, and I seriously have like an hour of things I want to talk to you about, but the thing that really kind of leapt out at me in the program, you're talking about the 2002 team, and you touched on the theme of interdependence and how the team aspect really transcended each individual level of performance was enhanced through, these are my words, not yours, but double click on that and expand on the notion of interdependence a little bit more in the team aspect, specifically in 2002.
Yeah, so a couple things. One, we competed inside of an individual sport, right? So we've got individual medals. We also have a relay, okay? And then we enter as a contingent, the USA contingent, the USA squad competing Olympic Games. The world was uncertain. It was highly volatile. Lots of nervousness, anxiety. Some people were excited, but it was very clear that this was unlike anything we've ever experienced before.
Right, just after 9/11.
Does that sound familiar today?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So in the same realm, in the same psychology, how do we maintain this ability to unify around a common goal, a common theme, a common belief system that allows us to collectively lean on each other when the stump gets wobbly, we hold each other straight. And I think that is progressively the fastest way that we can actually become maximal versions of ourselves, both in terms of the corporate environment, but also individually. Because at the end of the day, when the corporate stuff is removed, what's remaining? And that's the human-to-human interaction and connection. So when we can lock arms, we're unbreakable as a chain. When people start to realize or become fearful, and people start to loosen and they back off, the power chain is just like in speed skating, right? When we lean on these angles, nose, knees, toes, at these impossible angles, if I can line that up, the force of generation into the ice is seamless and the transfer goes directly into the ice. If it's off a little bit, the power gets broken and you lose, the efficiency goes out the window and you get maybe 70%.
Right.
So we do that sometimes. We show like a graphic of like, this is what the optimal speed skating angle and push looks like. And we know this biomechanically, this is the greatest and fastest way to generate force into the ice. Here's how most people skate. This is how you're supposed to skate. Here's the difference. The effort level is actually no different. It's the same. So there's always
but much better yield with the right.
But the team stuff was when you move from me to we, it's a much powerful. And I've actually tried to psychologically change the way that we talk about. I try to use the word we much more than me. I try to perceptively, always constantly, because I realize, number one, when I stand on the podium, it visibly looks like and optically looks like I'm the only person standing there. But it's not just me. There's a huge team that was required to help me get to that point. And so all of us, we were a big part of that moment. And I just tried to help just change my verb.
So last thing I want to ask you about, and then we'll wrap. But one of the things that is very appealing about sort of Apollo's profile and pedigree is that you not only achieved success in your case on the ice, but since then you have been a very energetic entrepreneur, an innovator. Just take 30, 60 seconds and tell people out on the inner tubes, what are you doing for, what are your latest projects? And I think it gives business people a window onto who you are and your ability to synthesize and understand when you hear the shop talk behind the scenes with whoever the customer is. It allows you to make those connections. So just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I spend the bulk of my time doing 3 things. The first is what I'm doing here, is I'm advising, I'm coaching, I'm guiding, I'm speaking about real-time concepts, real-time challenges and struggles and goals, and how do we attain them in the way that or blow past those expectations. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is I spend a bulk of my time researching, analyzing, advising, consulting, and investing into health and wellness and longevity. It's been a huge passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that the shell of the human, the mind, we're learning so much more. We understand the foods that we eat, the way that we sleep, the way that we move, the way that we think are integral to becoming the maximum version of ourselves.
Yep.
And with the advance of science, my whole goal is maybe I can't add more years to your life, but I can add more life to your years. That's my ultimate goal, is to invest in the best founders, the best people.
Yep.
And I used to work at a venture company, so I have a lot of experience in venture capital and the investing world, in the world of finance. And it's not easy, but that's where I spend a lot of my time. And the third thing is more entrepreneurial. So I'll jump on board of a team. I'll be an advisor. I do a lot of executive coaching. Based upon my world of sport, an athlete, the star team player, the CEO, the executive staff, never wants to show weakness,
mm-hmm.
right? But they need someone who's a confidant that perhaps is not the husband or not the wife or not the partner. And we need the safe space to be able to say, here's what I'm facing with. Now,
mm-hmm.
I may not understand the complexities of who that business or what that business is trying to entail, but at the psychological level, how do I help them remove the noise, zoom out, and become on the balcony so they can survey the battlefield properly
mm-hmm,
and not
mm-hmm.
be stuck in the fog of war.
Right.
And so having that, I deal a lot of that with, I sit on the board of a real estate acquisitions company, industrial real estate here in the States, and it's run by a very good friend of mine. And just navigating the complexities of decision-making, right? In the course of a 8-year career or a 5-year career of a CEO, there's probably only 3 major decisions they have to make that will greatly influence the outcome
mm-hmm,
of that company.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But they need to be, those 3 decisions can be radically different
Make or
really
break.
make or break.
Yeah.
So how do we present ourselves in a way where we're taking care of ourselves, we're understanding the pressure that is responsible, and also we're living in the best, I think, alignment with what we believe to be our true north.
Yeah. Well, closing thought, we in the industry love working with platform talent that makes us look smart for recommending them, and you qualify. So thank you for doing amazing work.
Thank you.
And we look forward to doing lots more.
Me too.
So cheers. See ya.